help women, save lives, and peacefully end abortion where you live.
I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired.
You were serious about that?
Be inspired to change hearts and minds by joining over 1 million volunteers taking part in the global movement happening in your neighborhood.
She says, pray that I can get through this abortion. And I said, oh, no. So she went ahead and went into the abortion clinic. When she just came out, she told us, I'm not going to get the abortion. We just had a baby saved. So we had a baby saved in Memphis today. Praise the Lord.
This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello and welcome to the 40 Days for Life podcast. I'm Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion where you live. Happy summer. We have recently given you a reading list for the summer, and today we will give you a movie list, and we are laughing. We were just laughing, actually. Steve spilled water all over himself. He was laughing so hard. And so we have recently had a revelation. Some of you wrote in, we'll get to that in a second, about it was actually the podcast launching The Scalpel and the Soul, Haywood's book, which you can order directly from 40 Days for Life and get your signed copy. So we launched that book, but in the midst of that, because we had Haywood and another wise generation here, we got a lot of questions about what movies you have seen and not seen. So we go through a list. And of course, you upset a lot of people, including myself, because we're looking at big ones. Hasn't seen The Godfather, hasn't seen Jurassic Park. The list went on. You haven't seen A Few Good Men. You haven't seen Shawshank Redemption. I mean, anyways, it was a shameful bloodbath of Steve's. But he watches movies, so don't do the Puritan, we just read books and pray all day. So he was watching like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, great movie, Tommy Boy. So I'm just giving roll the tape for Jaws. We asked Steve about Jaws. Here's the clip. This next one may hurt. Jaws.
Untie a shark cage. You go inside the cage. Cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark. Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies.
Oh, that's unbelievable! You haven't seen Jaws? How? How? I don't know. We gotta get Steve's parents in here. This is getting deep. That's unbelievable. It was just on cable all the time, too. I don't see how you didn't stumble upon it. You're like, hey, this guy's getting eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
Do you know, we're going to need a bigger boat? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, because there was a Taco Bell parody of it in the 90s, a commercial. Remember the dog? Taco Bell dog?
You quiero Taco Bell.
I'm going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, he said that you're going to need a bigger boat. So you knew that line. But Quinn's kind of a reference. The captain, it means nothing to you. He's on the Indianapolis.
Nope.
Goes down.
No clue.
Sharks in the water.
Complete ignorance.
I had that on my list of. I was like, he's gonna get that one.
This is like respectable. No, not even respectable. Okay.
That's brutal.
Okay. Well, 2 strikes.
I'm gonna ask producer John real quick since he's always off screen. Do you know anybody who's never seen Jaws?
Not anyone sane.
Okay, no one's sane. I don't think I know anybody.
Well, I'm here for medical purposes and psychiatric emergencies.
Yes. Well, you may have to do.
I was
some
going
work
to
on
watch
Steve.
it on the flight down here. Believe it or not, I was going to, and then I was having a hard time hearing it with the earbuds on the plane. So
You just made that up. So you just need to go buy it.
Okay.
Go get the Blu-ray and watch it. It's so good. That's another one that just totally changed how we watch movies. Not showing the villain and that being kind of scarier, kind of mysterious. Anyways, and great score. Great music. Okay, so in that, we obviously, producer John, who's here obviously recording this, even he loses it, and he's a man of very even keel temperament. but he said he didn't know anybody sane that hasn't seen Jaws. Now, even the insane people that I know have seen Jaws, so I just don't know anybody who hasn't seen Jaws. We recently, about 5 minutes ago, realized, take me through it. You watched Jaws. We're not going to talk about where you were, because we're going to give you a beat down for that. What did you think about the movie?
I thought it was pretty good.
That's not what you said 5 minutes ago.
Isn't it?
No, you said it's okay.
Yeah, I said okay, pretty good. It's decent.
There's nothing decent or okay or even pretty good about Jaws, okay? It's phenomenal, and it changed how movies are made, and everyone knows that, except apparently you. Then I said, that's strange. Did you watch the Blu-ray? Like, give me some context. And what was your answer?
Well, okay, so I did watch it, and I think that I should be getting credit because a couple weeks ago, I don't know, a week or two, sometime recently you said, we tell him to watch the movies, and Steve says he's going to watch the movies, and Steve never watches the movies. So I thought, I'll watch the movie. So yeah, I watched it on the plane home.
You can't watch Jaws on a plane. That's like a plane movie is, I don't know, Good Will Hunting or something. Like, of course, you haven't seen that either. But, some good dialogue movie where it just keeps going. Jaws is like, dark parts, light parts, sharks eating people, oceans, cameras bouncing up and down in the water, legs bouncing up and down in the water that have been eaten. Would you ever watch Jaws on a plane?
No.
You've seen Jaws.
I don't know.
What kind of organization are we running here?
I'm just going to say I don't know.
How do you not know?
There's a lot of similar movies out there.
It's like saying, have you ever been to Hawaii? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
This is excellent. I'm very happy about this.
I'm eating crow here. So neither one of y'all have seen Jaws. It's summertime for the rest of the world. They're all watching Jaws. It's a great 4th of July movie, by the way. I don't know what to say. You thought it was okay. It's really great. I'm just going to defend it.
Well, do we want to get to the viewer listener feedback?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got an email here from Lila. It says, Sean, I just want to tell you that I wasted my valuable time listening to your interview of Dr. Robinson the other day. The first part was terrible, how you treated your partner about movies you thought he should have seen. Now,
That wasn't Lila Rose, right?
No, that was not
Lila Rose.
Different spelling. I'm moderately to severely uncomfortable with being referred to as your partner because I don't think that means what it used to mean.
I don't think you can say that word anymore unless it's a law firm.
I think Lila nailed it otherwise. I think she's right. And then we've got one here.
No, Lila's wrong. Lila, here's how it works about YouTube or the podcast, the audio. You just skip over it. You're like, oh my gosh, they're going to go through all these movies. And you skip over it. And people skip over it. But we don't. We get every one banter criticism, which is few and far between as we are shocked at that reality. We get 100 like we love the banter. Nobody ever writes in and says, I just appreciate everything I learned about the Armenian genocide. Even though we do these deep dives into topics and people appreciate that. But now I think they're used to it and they don't care because we're the abortion guys and gals. So people just move on. But movies and things that we banter about are really the only unique things that we're offering.
Yeah, but I want to say the people have spoken here. Lila's not alone. We also have a note from Jeff who says, Sean, I'm 20 years your senior, but I have to say you made me feel sorry for Steve. Not because he hasn't seen these movies, but because he took such a beating.
Oh, but he understands if he's 20 years older, he's 60. So the fact that, what's his name?
Jeff.
He's a genius. He knows that if you haven't seen Jaws, my theory is that something went dramatically wrong in your upbringing.
Well, let's continue. I've only seen a couple of the ones mentioned, but the majority of these movies are bloody and violent. Some of us aren't looking for that for entertainment. Our culture is so full of blood and violence, and it just isn't entertaining. just my 2 cents. Appreciate your work, which is, I think Lila signed her email disgustedly. So Jeff appreciates our work at least.
I'm getting flack. So see, there's no counter argument, right?
No, I'm a victim.
No, not for you. I can't come back to that. We need less violence, and blood in our culture. What am I going to say? No, we don't. We need more. It's like, of course, some of those are violent and bloody. That's because when the Terminators come to take over, they're not coming to like, we're going to beat you in chess and then we're going to rule over you. So I can't really refute that. He's raising the bar, and so
I agree. I agree with
all
everything he said is accurate.
All I can do is defend Terminator 2, and I have a lot of allies. Like good Christian, solid people.
A lot of people
love Terminator 2. They're all over the place. But you can't just write off great movies because they have a curse word. And as one philosopher said, when they stormed the beaches at Normandy, they didn't look up and see the Nazis and go, "Oh shucks." So there's got to be some.
Dag nabbit.
I support art. I will say
Okay.
that. And you, Steve Carlin, are an insult to art.
We'll see what the in-flight movie is on the way home.
Oh my word! Yeah, the in-flight movie. You're gonna go watch like Jurassic Park on the little rinky-dink United flight screen.
Are any of the movies that I should have seen but have not acceptable on the plane, or do I actually have to take the time to watch these?
That's
at
a
home?
good question. I'd give you Shawshank Redemption. Okay. I'd give you A Few Good Men. I think that's fine on a plane.
So I think off air you said dialogue, and sometimes it's hard to hear.
But not so a no-go. Absolutely, you got to have a big screen. Fugitive.
Okay.
Castaway.
I've seen that.
Yeah, that's right. You had seen that. Jurassic Park, big screen.
If I do take
Patriot, Braveheart.
I was going to say Patriot.
Big screen.
300.
300.
If you do talk me into watching Terminator 2, which is highly dubious, as I've said, after Terminator 1, is that a plane movie?
No, that's a big screen. That's definitely a big, like your normal whatever. But so I don't want to harp on this. There are,
but I'm going to.
There's like the 3 greatest action scenes in the history of film, and like they're all in Terminator 2.
Okay.
So we'll just leave it at that. Which, referencing this podcast to an old podcast, we did like the top, I think we did 20. We did 20. This was when you were a listener, and now you have to be part of this.
Yeah.
You listened to that podcast.
I did.
And you were interested in it.
I was.
And you disagreed with some of the movies, and you agreed with some of them.
And I hadn't seen some of them.
Very good. So we're doing a follow-up to that because we have 9 movies here. 10? 9.
I think we bumped it up to 10.
We bumped it up to 10 movies. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may not have seen it. I had less control over this list. Obviously, I'm getting persecuted from the audience.
Oh, you're the victim now.
I'm the victim, yeah.
All right.
You need to get woke on Sean. You don't know what it's like walking in my shoes. So now that there's persecution of me, I've forfeited a lot of these, although I agree with them. To y'all, Heather's actually seen a lot of movies, and I disagree with you on one of these, and
good.
The audience will be with you for sure because of our pop secular culture. Just set that up like that. Mm-hmm. But because of our mindless stupidity, they'll agree with you.
Great.
But we need to reference, so we have it here. So if you missed that first podcast, it is season 6, episode 29. Season 6, episode 29. And we basically went through the top 20 movies that are secular, but they have a pro-life theme. And Terminator 2 is on there. That was one we got flack for. And the guy who gave me flack, I explained it, I guess, better than I did on the podcast. He's like, no, that makes sense. Because it's just this typical ethical thing like Jurassic Park. If we have the technology to do something, should we do it?
Yeah.
And I think with all the AI stuff, there's no more like Terminator 2 jokes. Like, what's Skynet gonna take over?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's getting a little real.
That's a theme in quite a few of these examples, actually, as we will see.
I know. Some of these were movies that were like, that is just so cool and what a good idea. And some of these are like, didn't I see that on the news last week? So let's get into this. But definitely go and listen to that first podcast, season 6, episode 29, where we did 20 movies, and a lot of fun, a lot of great feedback on that one. We actually didn't make fun of you. Matt is on that, if I believe.
There's no way that we covered movies and Matt was on it and I was not made fun of. I don't remember, but I'm pretty positive that...
That's true. But you contributed some movies to that.
I did.
I think Tommy Boy was on your list.
Yeah, Bill and Ted, previously mentioned.
Billy Madison.
Ghostbusters 2 is a pro-life movie. They tried to turn the kid into Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia. Remember that?
Okay, so I don't know what you just said. But that last sentence, this is what I want the audience to understand. He just recited that sentence from Ghostbusters 2. He has not seen Shawshank. Oh, man. The thing is, this is a compliment. You're a deep guy. Like, we have a lot of great conversations over the years. Like, you think about things. We have moral, ethical, philosophical, theological conversations all the time. And it's so enjoyable. And then I'm like, yeah, it's like, when Andy Dufresne was in prison. And you're like, what? Who's that? So it's just different.
It's possible that I'm too deep of a thinker and I don't feel like the medium of film is adequate for expressing these
His
eternal
faults are
truths.
that is too caring. He's too deep of a thinker.
I'm an empath, yeah.
He's the genius up in the attic that just can't come downstairs and have dinner with the commoners.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Thinking things up. Okay, well, I have misread you because I have a photo of myself standing next to Steve and he's wearing a cheese head and a gold cheese necklace. So I guess that was your day off of being some distant genius. Oh my word. Okay, let's get into this list. And disclaimer, because we don't want the hating emails. Obviously, some of these are not for children, so do not say that the 40 Days for Life podcast told you to show this to your kid. Okay. The Sixth Day with Arnold.
Why am I a threat? The Supreme Court upheld the laws against human cloning.
Why kill me and not the clone?
You saw him. He didn't see you. Daddy?
We found...
This is yours.
Came out in the year 2000, which was 23 years ago, everyone. Yeah, kind of crazy. So the title references, of course, Genesis. The first man, Adam, was created on the sixth day of creation. The synopsis of the film, essentially, how about that? The character's name is Adam.
And that's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's the main character. No coincidence. So he returns home after working with his friend, only to find a clone of himself with his family. Before he has a chance to find out the truth, he's attacked by a group who want him dead. He must escape and find out the truth from the creator of the clones, but he isn't ready to find out what he's about to hear. He's not ready to hear what he's about to find out. So this is a movie that I remember watching probably not long after it came out. I watched it again during COVID. I had a mission to just knock out a whole bunch of movies. Probably in part that if someday I was ever confronted, whether on or off 40 Days for Life podcast, I could at least have more to say. So I had certain movies that I had on my list. There's some I still haven't watched, but I'm not going to go over those. I rewatched this one. I forgot about how dark it is a little bit in some areas.
But it's aged well.
It has. It has.
23 years.
It's and it's about like we're in this futuristic world. Pet cloning is a thing. It's great because now you never have to tell your little girl that Sparky died. You just clone your pet and Sparky can live for another 20, however many years you want him to. And at this point in society, human cloning is illegal. But little do they know, it's actually happening a lot. And so something happens accidentally where someone is cloned that wasn't supposed to be, which you're like, how would that even happen? It's rather interesting, but you've seen it?
Yes, I have seen it. I saw it when it came out. And then I watched it recently and it's much better now because this was, I'd say Sixth Day is kind of the end of one of the greatest runs ever by an actor, which is Arnold. Some could say Terminator 3, which I really like. That came out in 2003. But really, like Arnold is in Terminator 1, which you hate, but then he just goes on this like rampage of like Commando, Predator, Terminator 2. He's like top of the world. He gets into comedy in the 90s. He did True Lies.
I've seen Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop's great, but that's a great movie. I mean, that's a pro-life movie. Put it on the list.
Kindergarten Cop.
But yeah, where you're just like every movie, this Total Recall, every movie this guy does is just like a blockbuster. Twins is in there. With Danny DeVito. Great movie. I mean, he does all these in like a 3-year time period. He did like 6 huge movies. And Sixth Day is kind of like the end of the Arnold where we're like, there's nothing wrong with his body. He will be 30 years old for the rest of his life. And then Sixth Day is kind of the last one of that, to where he gets into the older stuff
It
later.
wasn't that long after that he became the governor.
Right.
Oh,
that was part of it. Not just from what I'm saying, but he ran for governor and won, which was cool.
Governor of which state?
California.
You have to say it like
California.
No, that's terrible. That's so bad.
California. I don't know if I can do an Arnold. Yeah. Do it. But yeah, builds like the cigar lounge on the, because you can't, he's a big cigar guy and you can't smoke in California because they're communist. And so you can't be within 25 yards of a government building. So he like built this bubble that goes out 25 yards, and that's where his office was.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He smoked in his office.
So on the front of this movie, when was it? They cloned the sheep Dolly in like 97 or so?
Yeah.
For all the awful things that have been done from a bioethical standpoint, it's kind of shocking that we're not cloning human beings, isn't it?
It is. This is why Sixth Day is good and on our list, because that was controversial. I mean, because it wasn't like a liberal conservative thing. It was like, I don't know, we're going to clone a dog and a sheep.
Something's going to go wrong.
Something's off. And Sixth Day came out like right after that.
Mm-hmm. I
And
think they reference it.
there's an odd movie called Multiplicity with Michael Keaton where they clone him because he's a stay-at-home dad or whatever, and he can't do everything. He can't go to work. He can't raise his kids. So they clone him, and it's a disaster. And they're kind of mocking the cloning thing, but that's a goofy movie. Sixth Day comes out, and it's right after Dolly, the sheep, and it's kind of like, hey, this is a major blockbuster by a big studio. What other issue would Americans be divided on or be considered an ethical issue that's controversial that like 2 years later you have a major movie about? I mean, I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What's the crazy one where was it The Day After Tomorrow with the environmental list?
Yeah.
Because remember, Al Gore was speaking at an event for president. He had already lost, but this was either the 04 or 08 election. No, it was 04. And he's campaigning for John Kerry. And he shows a clip of The Day After Tomorrow with like the waves crashing. And he's like, this is what's going to happen if we reelect George W. Bush. And like, there were all these like Democrat Party strategists that were like, we got to get Al out of the spotlight. You know, and it was just like really bad.
Yeah, you don't want to go to an event that has Al Gore and John Kerry at it. Those are not the type of people I want to party with.
But there's no party going on there. Those are the two most boring humans on earth. So that's the only thing I can think of where you had like an ethical, are we destroying the earth, or are we destroying ourselves? Are we destroying nature? And then a major movie comes out shortly after about that. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and there were some interesting kind of parallels. Like there's a small part in the movie where there's a protest going on, and they have like their chants, which they have rhyming chants, and it's like, no, like don't mess with Mother Nature, humans, not clones, don't choose cloning. And they had like, kind of the mix of the smiling, waving people and the angry people. And to me, it was just parallel to, I guess a lot of the protests that we have in modern day America, but also interesting how other parallels for abortion, especially like you think abortion should only be in the cases of life of the mother, health of the mother, let's see, health of the baby. But then it was health of the baby. Then it was for gender. Then for any reason or no reason at all. And so that's kind of what you see the progression with the cloning in this is like, well, it's only pet cloning. We won't do human cloning. But then actually, the more that you get into the movie, you see, no, we're doing human cloning and it's for a good thing or it's for what I deem to be good, whoever the creator of the clones is.
It's good.
It's good.
But this 6 day is legit. Here's some fun facts that you can only get on the 40 Days for Life podcast. So Arnold did a DVD featurette called The Future is Coming. And he did that in 2015, and that's the same as the set that they used for Back to the Future Part 2.
The 6 day, I think, was the same.
6 day is the actual... Okay.
And that's what's crazy, because we've got Back to the Future 2015, which was now 8 years ago.
Yeah. So
6 day was supposed to be set in 2015. So only 15 years.
Oh, and
Yeah.
they used the same set as Back to the Future Part 2.
That's the same year, right? That's the future.
It's the
is year
1989.
2015.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to think. And okay, what are some of the other? Oh, one of the things I remember memorable, totally random in the 6 day is he goes into his kitchen and his refrigerator talks to him and it says, "You are low on milk. Would you like to order?" And it's like, okay, that was accurate. We had that by 2015. You know, we had like AI and not AI, smart home, you know, what we call smart home.
The Cubs won the World Series.
Close to 2015, not in 2015.
When did they win it?
Wasn't it 2016?
I thought it was 2015.
2016.
Okay, yeah. It was close.
Oh, yeah. Steve hates the Cubs.
Oh, okay.
It was good for baseball, though.
Yeah, it's good for my wife, but not for me.
I don't know if you know what marriage is. So that's not a good sentence. Good for her and bad for the family. Here's, my gosh, you want some uplifting news? Oh, how the times have changed. You wonder why we don't have clones? Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Bill Clinton. Same year that 6 Day came out, 2000, banned human cloning and any federal funds that encouraged human cloning. Slick Willie
Thank goodness.
is the moral one
Yes.
in the story.
He's the pro-life president.
He's the pro-life president now. That's the thing. That's why I still think
And
maybe,
the pro-marriage.
I know.
Sorry.
For sure.
Go ahead.
For sure. Well, he was literally and officially pro-life governor of Arkansas. And then we've said it a million times on the podcast. They said, you're going to run for president. You have to be for abortion. So he came out, brilliant, and said, I don't like it. I don't like abortion. Most Americans don't. That's why I want it to be safe, legal, and rare. It's just giving people permission to be a good person and accept abortion.
We're nice, right? We talked about nice one time on the podcast.
That is genius.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like it. I want it to be safe, legal, and rare. You know, and you're like, okay. You just fill in the blank. Drunk driving.
Yeah.
Homicide.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, whatever.
It's like when we reduce the need for abortion. We'll get you to concede that there is a need for it and then say, we'll just try to make that need rare.
Yeah, Trump did that with the wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. And everybody's like, no, they're not. So now we're not discussing if it's ethical to have a wall or not on our border. We're discussing who's going to pay for it. It's genius. Okay. Number 2 on our list. We did not have this on the original list because it got kind of put in, that's too much of an overtly pro-life movie, but we changed that because it's not. I think it's kind of scandalous in some ways, but I like Terminator 2, so nobody's gonna listen to me. But Juno.
I am not ready to be a pop-pop.
You're not going to be a pop-pop. Somebody else is going to find a precious blessing from Jesus in this garbage dump of a situation.
Yeah, this is a movie, when I watched it, I didn't want to like it. I found myself annoyed by everybody involved. The maker of Juno went to my wife's high school, and then they gave her an award, like, thank you for making this Catholic movie that reflects your education. And she went and was like, wait. I think her response was, bleep all those people. I don't know if I'd make that movie again after having received that letter. So this is
Wow.
This is what we're talking about. And the lead actress, of course, Ellen Page, now thinks she is a man and will probably get banned from YouTube for saying that she is not a man.
You were serious about that earlier. Mm-hmm. Heather joked to me, well, she'd be trans now. And I'm like, oh, yeah, in the movie, they'd ruin it by making her trans. You were telling me she's actually trans now.
Yeah, she calls herself Elliot, I think.
Yeah, it's Elliot. Yeah.
Elliot.
Yeah. So all of that is sort of the background of this movie, which It's not overtly a pro-life movie. The people who made it are not pro-life. And somehow, in spite of itself, they managed to make a touching pro-life film.
Sure. Yeah. And I think you have in the notes the protest, there's, I don't remember more than one. I just remember one pro-life protester, prayer warrior, however you want to word it. And it was this like sweet little girl, young woman, and she's just holding a sign and she's like, babies don't like being murdered, and just chanting that over and over again. And that was enough to convince her.
Yeah, I think maybe said something about the baby having
the fingernails. That's right.
10 fingers, 10 toes.
Yeah.
I like all that. I like when they show the protesters and they're kind of off or weird, because otherwise it's just we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. They did that in Unplanned, which was really good. Plus it was accurate. We did have some nuts that were coming out here, but we had to run them off. But in Unplanned, as it goes on, we're on our side. And all the women's makeup is perfect. There's no bugs. Nobody's sweating. Our hair is perfect. And then inside, there's all this turmoil. And I had a lot of people say, I like that. I like how that was subtle. And of course, I'm sitting there going, we were like roasting. It was 104 degrees. And we looked like we were like,
we didn't run away from the sprinklers.
Fell out of a trash can.
We loved when the sprinklers
we stuck our head in them.
Yeah.
No, it was so hot. So hot.
Yeah.
So always. Go ahead.
The other great thing about their depiction, like the protester, whatever you want to call it, she's kind of goofy and it's a parody of what like 40 Days for Life people would be. But yet, even in spite of their attempt to make fun of it, it's obviously clear that she is sincere.
Yes, which is what I like. I think Juno's a good movie. I didn't want to like it, and I didn't really like it when it came out. I liked it over time, and I appreciate what the director did, even though I guess she didn't mean to do that. But it's a good story. I think young kids, like even now, like it. What year did that come out? 09?
I want to say like 07, 08, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure.
Bella was
06.
06.
My favorite line, lest we forget, from Dwight Schrute, who plays in Juno.
Dwight, wait.
Dwight's in The Office. In Juno.
He's in Juno.
He's the convenience store clerk who is like, face it, your ego is prego.
Man,
Yeah.
I didn't realize
That's him. Yeah. Best line in the movie. No,
I know he's conservative in real life. I assume he's pro-life in real life.
Definitely not conservative.
He's not?
No.
He's far leftist.
No.
I must be confusing
He
him
was
with
the
somebody.
women will die tweet.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Among many others.
You're
clearly,
confusing
then
Dwight
I'm mixing
with
him up with somebody else.
someone else.
Okay, the next one on our list, The Island, which came out in 2005. Scarlett Johansson.
Never seen a baby. Can I hold her?
Not just yet.
We're going to the island.
The Island is good.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it's been a while.
And you've not seen it. Okay. So actually, The Island, kind of going along with the cloning theme, is another cloning movie. There's actually a couple of weird similarities with this movie and The Sixth Day. I'll get to that.
By the way, this is the height of the embryonic stem cell debate.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
George W. Bush.
5 years away from it, and we're still, as far as I know, 5 years away from cures.
Right. It's always,
There's
That's
5
right.
more years.
But I mean, Michael J. Fox is doing his thing, and I mean, they're tugging at the heart, and they're like, you want people to suffer. It's getting deep, and somehow our country was holding the line of like, we're gonna have to abort people in order to save you,
Right.
and that makes everybody a little uneasy.
Right. So this film, again, it's another film about cloning. It's set in sort of like a dystopian type future. I don't know the year that this is supposed to be. I think I saw somewhere where it said 2019, or I heard in the movie maybe that it said 2019, which is kind of funny. So that's close enough. I don't know if I want to give too much away, but there's been this supposedly this nuclear war. This contamination. There's only a few people of humanity that have survived. They're in this factory type thing, and they all have to work essentially like slaves. And they have like a schedule, and they're told exactly what they eat, and their nutrition is controlled, and they have to exercise, and they have to wear certain things,
Masks.
but no masks,
Okay.
believe it or not.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Don't bring up COVID. No COVID.
Too late. Yeah, well, 2019, right before that happened. So essentially the big thing is they're waiting, these people that are the saved people are waiting for a chance to get to the island. And the island is this fictional place. They don't know it's fictional, but the island is this paradise, and they have to they get to the island by a lottery. So every now and then, there's no consistent, like every day somebody wins the lottery and they get off. It's just super random. There may be 3 people in a week. There may be 1 person every other day for 2 months. It just depends. And then everybody cheers for them. That's great. They get to get out of this factory living, and they get to go and live in paradise, and they're saved. You know, they're part of humanity that's saved. But the whole thing about it is it's actually that all of these people are clones, and they don't know it.
I forgot about that part.
Yes.
That they don't know it.
They don't know it. And so there is spoiler alert. So pretty much if you're watching this and you don't want any spoiler alerts, you're just going to have to look at the show notes or listen to the very end for the list, and then go watch your movies and then come back and listen to this whole podcast.
One thing we need to do for the viewer, even though we did the disclaimer, and I don't remember, so I'm not about to give any advice. What's the island rated?
PG-13.
It's PG-13. So check it out. I mean, borderline, maybe like your teenagers can watch it depending on what's in there.
Sure, right.
But
yeah.
And Juno is PG or PG-13. It's PG-13. It has to be. And
I
then
think it is.
Is 6 Day R?
It's PG-13. Believe it or
Okay,
not.
they're all PG-13.
Yeah. Most of these are PG-13.
Okay.
Yeah. So another thing that was interesting about the elitists are the ones who get to have clones. So you have a terminal illness. Well, great. Your clone is your insurance policy. But there's a scene that is like anti-pro-life, but it's not endorsing it. So in a way, like, it's painting this is bad. The characters that are in the main characters see that this is bad. So it's like, okay, great. So they value life in that way, and they see that life is not being valued, and they're freaked out about
That's
it.
what we want.
Right. So there's again, spoiler alert, there's a woman who just won the lottery. Oh, this is so exciting. She's about to get off the island. Well, the reason is because she's going into labor. So she's pregnant. This clone is pregnant. And it doesn't say how she gets explained that she became pregnant, or gets told how she became pregnant. So, because her husband is not there with her.
Okay.
It's weird. So I don't know. I don't know that part. But essentially, she gives birth and they kill her moments after she gives birth. And then next thing you know,
that part.
Here comes the lady whose clone she is. And it's her and her husband, and they have this newborn baby welcomed into their arms. And the whole thing is that the woman, the wife, was the one who got the clone because she's infertile. She can have a baby. They want a baby that has their DNA, so they have a clone. Her sole purpose was to conceive and have this baby, and that's it. Now they're done with her. She's gone. She's dead. And so so one of the clones escapes, and he sees that. He escapes out of his quarters. He's not supposed to be in this labor and delivery / euthanasia room. And he sees this, and he's like mortified, and he's like, what is happening? The island is a myth. Something's going on. So the rest of the movie is him trying to figure out, and then essentially going and rescuing all the rest of the clones.
I'm going to say something I've never said before.
I'm ready.
Thank you, Bill Clinton.
Yes.
So let's do a little Clinton litany here. Okay. He cheated on his wife multiple times, and one that's been very public. He advocated for partial birth abortion. And you can look at it on YouTube. You can watch the presentation he saw, which is very good, because he's like, I want both sides. And they basically show a partial birth abortion. It's the most horrific thing you would ever see in your entire life. I don't know how you watch that. It doesn't matter. You can love Planned Parenthood. You're like, oh my God, we're not having that. So he watched that and pushed for partial birth abortion. Okay. All that. And yet Bill Clinton has the conscience to be like, we don't need to be cloning people.
Yeah.
He had a real political gift at, what do they call it? Triangulation, I think, where he wouldn't, right now there's no discipline on the other side, right?
Yeah,
They'd
yeah.
kill them all. He would take like a slight step back and then position himself as the moderate voice. And I think that's what it was for cloning, because back then, like, again, cloning the sheep, I think it was 97. It was a new concept. And
Clinton wouldn't get elected today.
No, though I think he would just be.
He would just.
I've had this discussion with my parents before, where it's like, it almost makes Clinton wasn't this bad. I was like, no, Clinton just knew what he could get away with and what he couldn't get away with, and I think that's true with all of them. But this was like cloning at that time was somehow more shocking than a late-term abortion. And so he's like, okay, that's where we'll draw the line. We're not crazy here.
He was called Slick Willie in your house, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that was everybody's. I'm sure. I was little, so when he first got elected, all I heard my grandfather say, our World War II vet grandfather, God rest his soul, I just heard him call him Slick Willie. But my grandfather would just come up with these brilliant, hysterical phrases. And so I just thought that was his specific nickname. And then I got older and I was like, oh, Slick Willie's a thing. So yeah, even Clinton was against, cloning. Yeah. Okay, the next one, and hopefully this is more recent. Hopefully a lot of people have seen it. This has become controversial. I don't know. Sometimes we Christians just don't know how to win. Father Stu is a good movie.
I think God saw something in you worth saving, but it's up to you to decide what you've got to offer.
It's the place you told me you believed in me. I thought it makes sense being back here to do this.
Your son is about to make a huge mistake.
Well, I'm going to be a priest.
I love Father Stu. I thought that was a fantastic movie. It's one of the best. I mean, not that there's a lot to compete with it, but it was one of the best movies that I've seen in in recent years. And I have this discussion, I think the one you're alluding to, a lot with friends. Like, yeah, it was good, but how did you feel about the cursing? I don't care. That's who he was and how he lived. We got to include. You can't have the light if you don't contrast it with the dark.
There's two versions of cursing. Okay, there's cursing, and then there's Mark Wahlberg cursing. And for some reason, it's just different when he's doing it. I liked it because of the accuracy of it. And I cursing doesn't bother me as much as other people, and I understand people who hate it in movies. I like it when it's authentic, not just F-bombs for the sake of F-bombs. With that said, I do think Father Stu had too much cursing. That would be like a hot take for me. But it was just a little excessive. And even Mark Wahlberg said, he got, I think the bishop of Helena, great guy, great 40 Days for Life supporter, had commented on it. And Mark Wahlberg was kind of taken aback, but then he watched the final cut with the director, and he turned to the director and he's like, "There's a lot of F-bombs in this." And she goes, "Yeah, you ad-libbed a lot."
Oh my
So
gosh.
they had it written in there because Father Stu cursed. I think it made it more relatable, but then the people should know they're releasing when they did the Blu-ray, they cut out some of the F-bombs. So they went back and did that. But anyways, that aside, so good. Such a good story, authentic. I don't mind. People get so anti-Hollywood that they're like, Mel Gibson's a scumbag. And so you're not going to watch The Passion. I just think art has a certain section. It's not that we just say these people do whatever they want. But Leonardo da Vinci was pretty much out of his mind. So was Rembrandt.
Caravaggio, your guy had some problems?
You don't think Michelangelo at Thanksgiving dinner is going to be a normal guy to talk to? I memean, but I'm going to the Sistine Chapel one day. So, but Mark Wahlberg almost took heat because he was famous. And they're like, well, and we're like judging him. Anyways, it was a weird reaction to Father Stu. I thought he made a good movie. It could have been better, but it was very well done. His acting's phenomenal in it. I thought he was really, really good. And then he gained all the weight, and then they filmed the end, and then he lost all the weight. So all that stuff you're working with, that's hard. It's hard to do, and he did it. And it helps that he's one of the biggest stars on earth. I don't think that's a problem when a big celebrity calls attention to the priesthood in this case, and a suffering priest in this case.
It really sends a strong message about dignity of human life, even amidst suffering. I think that was one of the most powerful parts about it.
I haven't seen the movie yet, so.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And it's not like Mark Wahlberg can do no wrong. He's like publicly for gay marriage. I totally disagree with him on that. I think that's a huge scandal. But he made a good movie. I mean, Father Stu is really good.
There's a good chastity message in it too. Really good chastity message.
For sure. It's a great high school man's movie. I mean, a high schooler can see it, in my opinion. But a male high schooler, it's like, this is awesome.
Plus, Mark Wahlberg just has the coolest voice. I'd listen to him talk about anything.
Steve just listens to recordings of Mark.
Have you ever seen the Saturday Night Live skit, Mark Wahlberg Talks to Animals?
No.
Just stop. Okay. So let's pause on Mark Wahlberg. So speaking of, this is where we lose the audience. This is what I'm about to bring up. Speaking of excessive cursing, but just such a good movie. Have you seen The Departed?
No, I haven't.
Okay. If you like Mark Wahlberg, you'll like Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
You've seen The Departed.
No, I haven't.
Is he talking to animals?
Doug Johnson's favorite movie.
I'm sure.
Abby's husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you say?
It's better off that I don't continue.
He listens to the Saturday Night Live Mark Wahlberg, but one of Mark Wahlberg's biggest movies ever. He's like, what's that?
The Departed. Yeah.
The Departed. Is that about a flight taking off? Lone Survivor.
No, I haven't seen that.
About Marcus Luttrell, the Navy SEAL.
I've seen his music videos.
Okay, we gotta move on. Father Stew's good. Go get Father Stew. If you want a little less cussing, get the Angel Vid or the Blu-ray.
Vid Angel, yeah.
Vid Angel, whatever. Okay. Number 5, Arrival, starring Amy Adams, who I love because of Leap Year, the feel-good romantic comedy that takes place in Ireland. Great movie, Leap Year. The Arrival.
What the hell is she doing?
I have not seen The Arrival.
Okay. Arrival is great. I recently watched it. Also stars Jeremy Renner, who is known for Hawkeye. 2016 is when this movie came out. So not to be confused with the 1996 Charlie Sheen, The Arrival alien movie.
In the prep for this, there was a little back and forth. Like, the Charlie Sheen movie? No, I think that's The Arrival. We're just talking Arrival.
And I'm pretty sure that bombed.
It
Unlike one of your
did.
favorite movies, Major League. Great Charlie Sheen movie.
We're like 12 years since the Charlie Sheen winning era. Remember that?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he went.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think Hot Shots killed Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Anyways, Arrival 2016, also an alien movie, not, easily confused. This was an interesting, this was suggested to me by somebody actually, and they said, oh, this has a pro-life message. And it actually, I had to go and watch the whole thing and then think about it. And okay, I can see the pro-life message now, but you're thrown off because there's some confusion with the timeline of the movie. It's one of those that has you guessing in that manner. But essentially, Amy Adams plays this linguist. Her name is Louise. There are 12 alien spacecrafts that have situated themselves in 12 different areas, 12 different parts of the world. She's called to the one in America, which I believe is in Montana. And they're trying to figure out how to understand the aliens' language. So she has to figure out alien language. So the message of it, again, spoiler alert, is she has this daughter, and it kind of shows in fast forward in the beginning of the movie, her daughter was born. She's loving her daughter. She's watching her daughter grow up. Her daughter becomes a teenager and gets some sort of rare disease, and it alludes that her daughter dies. And so then you think that all of that happened, and now she's a lone, mom who's lost a child, and she's this linguist going to speak to aliens. But you find out that's not quite the case.
Yeah, it is a moving movie to that extent. This is another one where I watched it and I wasn't sure whether I liked it or not.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know that I still have made a decision yet, but I think when you add it to the list, I see why you added it to the list. I think it was a good point. Amy Adams is very good in it. And pro-life, I don't know. It's hard to say much without just giving away the entire plot.
Right.
But it's worth checking out.
Essentially, you are given the message that even if you can predict the future and know everything, is life still worth living? If you know something that's going to happen in the future, is life still worth living?
That's well put. Yeah, that's really well put.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a morality tale. I'm going to watch it because I'd never heard of it. I don't know.
Don't watch it. Like, make sure you are uninterrupted. Otherwise,
we had a baby in 2016, so I was thrown off. It was a busy year, so
and every other year.
It was number 6. Yes, not that I don't know what the difference is between 5 and 6, but whatever. Okay, this next one. This is where you, the listener, the viewer, this is where you need to make fun of me and give me flack and criticize me.
Podcast at 40daysforlife.com. Podcast. That's POD.
What I'm about to say is actually very countercultural, and I think a negative sense, and I'm willing to accept that. But you can insult me. I can't remember a time in my life where I was offended. So don't be worried about offending me. So I've been insulted but never offended. Criticize me for this. I have absolutely no use for any of the Avengers, or you mentioned DC. What is that, Batman?
DC Comics.
So I love the
that's
1989 Batman.
Did you just say, is that Batman? Okay.
I love 1989 Batman. None of the other ones.
Is Batman's an Avenger?
No. But there's a competition. All the Avengers, Thor, is that a Hulk? Never seen any of them. I watched the first Iron Man, which was really good.
Okay.
With what's his face? He makes
Robert
it.
Downey Jr.
Right, Robert Downey Jr. makes
Yeah.
it. He's great. But like now they made 18 of them. I hate it all. Captain America, go into a room, Hollywood, write a script that is meaningful with interesting dialogue and a good story and make a movie.
Patriotic.
All they're doing is like, I'm going to pick up a cab and throw it at this building. I'll pick up a bus and throw it at you. And you're like, where's the creativity? Who cares about the Avengers? But you have it on our list. So
Okay.
I'm
Thanos.
open.
We're talking specifically about Avengers Infinity Wars.
And when we faced extinction, I offered a solution.
Genocide.
But random, dispassionate, fair to rich and poor alike. They called me a madman. And what I predicted came to pass. With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist, and I call that mercy.
And then what?
I finally rest and watch the sunrise on a grateful universe. The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
So Thanos, for those of you who don't know, is Greek for death bearer. That is not a coincidence. Opposite of Theotokos. Opposite of Theotokos.
I'm trying to be respectful. I know the audience agrees with you. All these movies make like $1 billion in the opening weekend. So
Theotokos, it means bringer of God or life. So the premise of this is there's too much disorder. So Thanos wants to restore order by killing off the bulk of society. Couple of quotes from here. He says, the hardest choices require the strongest wills. And you can liken that, of course, to the abortion industry. We're the strong ones. It's a hard choice, but we're willing to make it for women. So there you go.
all right, that's a good tie-in. I
Yeah.
still hate all the Avengers and what they stand for.
Is Spider-Man an Avenger?
Spider-Man is an Avenger.
He is?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw Spider-Man 2.
I saw
Not
years
the
ago.
first one, just
I don't think so.
I
okay.
saw the
Which Spider-Man? Because there's like 3 different. They
There's-
start over.
it's awful.
Which actor?
The one from Seabiscuit, the jockey from Seabiscuit.
Okay.
I saw the first Spider-Man.
Andrew Garfield.
Whatever. I saw.
No. Sorry, he's the second one. The first one is Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire. I saw the one with Tobey Maguire.
Okay.
The first one.
That might be the one I saw.
Very good. I saw it in the theater. I got dragged
kind
there by, I think, a younger,
surprising here that I know
dilapidated
more than you do.
brother-in-law. But so I got dragged into the theater because I was like married and had kids. I was like, I'm not going to see freaking Spider-Man. And then it was good. But they make too many. It's dominated movies.
See, this is where most of the audience laughs at you because you're saying that the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was good because most people would say, no, that's why they had to scrap it because it was so bad. Anyways.
Good Will Hunting. That's a great movie.
That's a great movie.
It's just nothing like that anymore.
Well, I don't know how you went to Good Will Hunting, but okay.
I'm just going to like good scripts, good dialogue.
Okay.
Shot in Boston,
Boston.
But yeah, all that.
Yes.
But I'm just giving examples. This is like the old man rant. Because my teenagers say, Dad, you're just out on this. This is like, don't share this publicly, which is why I decided to do it on this podcast.
I don't think there's a lot of podcasts in which the two dudes are trashing the superhero movies and the woman is saying, no, the superhero movie is good.
I know. That's what I'm surprised about.
That's because we're a diverse, open-minded organization, and it's the world has gone mad.
Woke.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're
Sure.
unwoke, and that's the new woke.
Anyways, I gotta read this exchange.
let that bounce around in your brain, Steve. Okay.
It's interesting. Hold on.
Are you not done with
I'm
the
not done.
superhero
Exchange
thing?
with Thanos and Red Skull. So Thanos says,
Is Red Skull bad?
Sounds bad.
Sounds bad.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the price of the Infinity Stone? Which the Infinity Stone gives Thanos the power to destroy everything in the universe. So the Red Skull says the soul holds a special place among the Infinity Stones. You may say it's a certain wisdom. The stone demands a sacrifice. So Thanos asks, what is that sacrifice? And Red Skull says, to ensure whoever possesses it understands its power. In order to take the stone, you must lose that which you love, a soul for a soul. So you can't take something without losing something infinitely, is kind of a message here, I think. To women contemplating abortion, you've been lied to, you've been told that you're a burden. Your burden will be gone if you abort this child, but what they don't tell you, what they leave out is you're losing your soul, such as, ironically, I believe the room we're in now is the former recovery room.
Yes.
Where so many women came to that realization.
Yes.
And so many recovery rooms across America and across the world where women came to that realization.
So what we've witnessed is you have the most mature Avengers take of any Avengers fan in the history of the world. I mean, you actually connected it to abortion. So good job. I'm proud of you.
It helps having this discussion with others who took it seriously.
You're like getting up on the steps and just looking down at me. You don't like Iron Man. You're out. Okay. That was good. That was good.
I think Heather's been discussing this with Jeff and Lila.
Yeah, oh, yeah. No. They're like, bring up Avengers. I got a feeling Carney hates it. Okay. The next one, new movies. So this came out and my kids rented it. The older kids, obviously. And I was like, what is this? And it sounded so dumb, and it is so good. The Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place.
Great. A Quiet Place.
The Quiet Place is Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, that's
right.
80s Charlie Sheen movie. These movies are like they're 2 hours or whatever, but they feel like they're 20 minutes.
Yeah, in a
Not
way.
good for blood pressure.
Right.
So for people who we won't spoil it, but I think we've got to tell them what it is.
Yeah.
It sounds so dumb, but they actually pull it off. It's scary.
Yeah.
Very scary. Aliens take over. They're like massive cricket things, as sophisticated as that sounds. But they can't see.
Right.
But their hearing is superior to any hearing on Earth, anywhere. So if you make a little noise 5 miles away, the big cricket thing comes and eats you in pretty violent fashion. It's pretty, like, you're into it. You're like, this is serious. We got to lock our doors. So they got to be quiet. And Jim from The Office, what's his real name?
John Krasinski.
Yeah, it's like a Czech name. He's phenomenal. His career's taken off. He was in 13 Hours. Great movie.
And his real life wife in this movie.
Oh, for real? I didn't know that. Really? Okay. So they have to be quiet. She's pregnant.
Yes.
So she has to deliver the baby and not make it. She makes a sound, they'll all be murdered. Because the cricket things have killed everybody on Earth, basically, because they can just feast on us. They've also eaten all of our crops. They've taken everything. So it's a total survival. All these like kooks that are waiting for the world to end.
Yeah.
This is like the perfect movie for them. This is like, you know, the World Series for Steve. So they're totally into it. But it's one of those good movies where you feel like you're in it and it's real and you ask yourself, what would I do?
Yeah. And how in the heck can she give birth and not make a sound? Like that was because she couldn't.
They gave her whiskey.
She couldn't get, they have like this, like, what do you call it? Like a vault that it's a soundproof thing. She can't make it in there.
Right.
So she has to give birth not in the soundproof thing. That was like, I don't even know.
Producer John, have you seen A Quiet Place?
I have.
Great. He's seen everything. But was it scary for you?
It was scary.
Yeah. So he thought it was scary. And he's not a quiet person. He would have gotten eaten very soon. But but then it's got a little bit of like Mary and Joseph flight to it, because they're taking this newborn and baby and child as the movie goes on and trying to survive and making it and finding food. I don't know if you ever read the book called The Road. Great book. It's a huge pop culture book. Most people don't realize.
Is it Cormac McCarthy?
Yes, Cormac McCarthy, who's Catholic and a real Catholic, and he wrote that. It became a movie. The movie, I think, is very similar. It's just the end of the world, and it's a father-son, and they're trying to survive. What's beautiful about the book is you have no idea how the end of the world came about. So it's not a distraction. You're like, did a meteor hit? Did a nuke go off? You don't know. You just know they're trying to survive. But The Road is a phenomenal book. It's one, if you start it, you're going to finish it in like 2 hours. But the movie, I haven't seen it, but I've told it's just super scary. Because you're kind of being hunted by other humans in the road. So great morality book. A Quiet Place is like the alien version of The Road, where you just don't think about it, because in the movie somebody will cough and an alien comes out of nowhere. Like you hear them coming from miles away, and they find the person and eat them because their hearing is so good. So basically, the pro-life part is that they're doing everything for the child, and the child is like 99% a burden. The only 1% is that they're a human being and they have dignity and they're worth dying for. It's just the total opposite of the abortion mindset, that you would do anything for the baby. It's the opposite. It's not all these scenarios of how your life will be ruined. It's you'll probably get eaten and die at any moment by the aliens, but it doesn't matter because it's all for your baby. So it's a beautiful pro-life message, which you thought of. I didn't have it on this list. Somebody put it on this list.
I did think of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched it and just thought it was awesome.
I got the idea from somebody else. I had to have, because maybe from you, from another podcast.
That's right. It was my idea to put the Avengers on here. Now I'm remembering everything clearly. Okay. This next one is a wild card. This is fun.
Yes.
For those of you who like House.
Oh, you missed one.
Oh.
Castaway.
Oh, okay.
Got to talk about Castaway.
All right. Castaway.
Wilson, I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Wilson! I can't! Wilson! Wilson!
Which Steve has seen.
And I have seen.
And y'all both asked me, love Castaway. Talk about great movie runs, Tom Hanks. So Tom Hanks is on the screen like an hour alone.
Yes.
I think it's his best acting job ever.
It's pretty good.
I mean, he's done some brilliant acting. I mean, he did Forrest Gump, but he kind of gets all the credit for that. But in some ways, that's an easy part. But Saving Private Ryan, he's excellent. I think Big is a really hard part to play.
Yeah, Big was good.
He got nominated, actually, for Best Actor that year, but he didn't win. Castaway, I think, is his best thing. I don't know. You're sitting there, like, messing with your tooth. There's no other actors. Anyways. All right. So y'all asked me, y'all were like, Castaway's good. How in the world is it a pro-life movie? Here's how. And I don't think this is forced. There's 3 themes. You're not alone. So he's never cynical. He's always moving forward. There's a great, a lot of the saints talk about, we talk about human suffering, but we never give human suffering a lot of credit in the world. It's amazing what human beings can cope with. And we know people, I have family and friends, whether they lose a child or they go through a tragedy or they see a relative killed in front of them or just real things that you don't wish upon anyone. And you're like, how do they keep going? We hear that about people all the time and it's inspiring. And there's something about coping. And in Castaway, he just never really gives in to despair. I mean, the attempted suicide is sort of the height of that, where he's like, I'm just not going to do this. Like, what am I doing? And then from then he moves forward and you're kind of like, I think he's going to get off the island. I have no idea how. But so I like You're Not Alone. And certainly at the end, when What's-Her-Face runs off with the dentist, Helen Hunt, forget her. So she marries the dentist.
Do you blame her for that?
Yes. He's not confirmed dead.
They weren't married, right? They were just engaged.
Oh, that's true. Wow.
Hey, Laura, are you watching? It's a good thing you tied him down. Mercy. I mean, they've been on a few dates.
It's true. They didn't.
They were celebrating Christmas together.
Yeah.
That's when he got called away. So, anyways, I would.
She knew in her heart he was gone.
Yeah,
forever.
Exactly. Until he showed up.
So you're with me.
So, but
I'm
he
kind
knows
of in the middle. I see your point.
Because of the angel thing, and then they go out to West Texas and they film the final scene. It's the cross on the road, and he knows. Obviously, he goes back and he ends up with that lady, and it's this hope-filled. Like there was something beyond that. So, very anti-despair movie, anti-cynical movie. Okay, and that is the final thing, which is life finds a way. The old line from Jurassic Park that Steve doesn't know because he's never seen it, but life finds a way. And that there's just this hope. And all of abortion is just built on hopelessness. The worst will happen. Murphy's Law, it's awful. Your life is awful. Another kid. Even if you want a baby, people say that. They say that to us. And we're like, no, we're delighted. You're the one that's depressed. So I like just the constant optimism of Castaway because it feels like it should be a depressing movie, and it's not. And he has to create a volleyball to show that man was not meant to be alone. He just basically psychs himself out like a lunatic to talk to a volleyball because we're just not made to be islands. And now what are we told? Be an island, be you, who cares, forget the world, create a TikTok account and live your life, and you end up alone and miserable. And even Tom Hanks, who actually is alone and should be miserable.
That's interesting because we've got the most prosperous civilization in human history, and the loneliness is unprecedented. And I guess to your point, the corollary, the counterexample of that is he was nothing. He was poor because he was just himself on an island, and yet recognized that he was created for something greater.
Creepy Castaway fact. First, a cool one first. Tom Hanks is reading about how FedEx works. He's just kind of mesmerized. He's like bored. He's reading.
Was this in the movie or he's preparing for it?
No, this is before there's ever a concept of a movie.
Okay.
This is how the movie came to be. He is reading about basically like, how you wonder how many planes are flying around right now. So he learns like there's constantly just mail planes and FedEx planes going around the world 24/7, right? And he thought to himself, what if one of those goes down? Like, what does that look like? Because most of the world is water. And that was the impetus of Castaway.
Whoa.
And when they made the movie, FedEx had never lost a pilot and a plane had never gone down. So he found that even more fascinating, which gave him the comfort to make the movie. Years later, one of them went down. It was the first one. So, but before Castaway, a FedEx plane had never gone down. But that was his, what was my creepy fact to that? Oh, that was it. That they had never lost a plane and then they make the movie and one goes down.
Yeah.
He sounds like one of those guys who's up late reading Wikipedia and just can't quit finding new Wikipedia articles.
Yeah, and he's made some kind of weird movies. He's made some genius, movies that are so great. That the Avengers, regarding Henry, great movie. Avenger people don't understand that. Son of a Woman. Avenger people would melt watching great acting like that. Okay.
Now we can get to House.
House.
Affix the pulse ox to the palm. House.
Sorry.
Have you seen this? You've seen this episode? Did you watch the series?
Yes, but then we just stopped one day, not intentional, and we haven't gone back, but I would. House is very well done.
I have not.
Matt got me on House.
Oh.
House is great.
It is. It's great. Hugh Laurie does a great job. He's
They
British
could
and you
make
don't
House
know it.
now.
Yeah, no, they can make House now.
Not woke.
Okay, so what's awesome is when I was trying to think about this, in my mind, I was separating this and thinking that it was 2 different episodes, but then I went back and watched the one that I could find, and I realized the 2 most pivotal, I guess, or the pivotal moments in this episode are in the same episode. And I was thinking they were so pivotal that I thought they were 2 separate episodes.
And it's season 3, episode 17.
Mm-hmm.
Season 3, there's a lot of houses. So
Yes.
season 3, episode 17. This is a great intro to House.
Yes. So it's called Fetal Position. And okay, there's going to be, this is great. It's a super pro-life episode. There are many episodes that have the opposite messages of this series, like a lot of them. But this one just kind of takes the cake because of how they wrote it. And I even actually, when I was reading up a little bit more, kind of trying to remember and then realizing this was one and the same of the episodes, I was reading pro-choice person on this social media or IMDb or something defending this episode against some other pro-choice people that were saying this was such an agenda-driven episode and it was so anti-choice and all
for
that
the
kind
viewer,
of stuff.
people need to know House is a little bit like Archie Bunker. Like he's not a bigot. He hates everyone and he thinks he's better than everyone. And so House is a genius.
Yes.
In fact. And he diagnoses people. They don't know what they have. And he's a genius. So the hospital has to work with him. It's like Princeton, I think. And they have to have him on staff because he's the most brilliant guy in the world.
Right. Okay. So this particular episode is called Fetal Position. So this is where essentially a 42-year-old woman is pregnant and out of nowhere she has a stroke. They can't figure out why. All these tests that they're doing, they're not finding what it is, or they think they find something and then they just keep on hitting another wall. And so the house comes in and basically tries to figure this out as well. But what was interesting, couple of the pivotal moments. So one of the doctors who butts heads with House all the time, when they finally realize the baby is what's causing her organs to shut down, the female doctor says to her, "You can always try again," which is always fun for parents to hear because who cares? You
Who
can
cares
always try
about
again.
that kid?
Who cares about
Better
that
luck
kid?
next time.
Yeah. Which is an awful thing to say no matter what. So this mom fights back every single time, no hesitation whatsoever. And she basically says, like, I had 2 miscarriages when I was married. I've tried IVF 4 times. This is my last time. This is my last chance. If this baby doesn't make it, then maybe I'm not meant to be a mom, which of course she is a mom with having all those pregnancies already. but maybe she's not meant to have a surviving baby. And so she continues to basically challenge this team of doctors to say, you have to save my baby's life. There is no other option. Save my baby's life. Do whatever you can. Figure out what's happening. And it's really, really cool. So one thing that they do show is a computer animated as if they're going inside the womb, as if the viewer can see inside the womb, and it shows this baby. It shows this little unborn baby, and they're injecting the amniotic fluid or the umbilical cord with something for one of these tries, essentially.
But I don't know of a TV show where it's essentially this awesome ultrasound.
Yeah, exactly. And then they do show, so this was, I believe, in 2008 or 9.
And it's season 3. House is huge. It's probably the #1 show on TV. It's on Fox, right?
I think so, yes.
But it's huge. It's like still back in the day before streaming where like you had to watch a show and the next Sunday, because it was on after NFL football on Fox on Sunday nights. It was like the prime time show.
Yeah, it was. And they at this point in real life, they already had 3D and 4D sonograms. So if you're not familiar with what those are the sonograms that look like the little clay babies, like little orange and yellow clay babies. A lot of people love them. Some people are freaked out by them. They think they look like aliens, whatever. They definitely show a lot more than what the grainy 2D, black and white sonogram shows. So that's kind of cool. They actually show that as well in this film. So once that female doctor hears the woman say all the other things, I've lost babies, I've tried and tried, this is my last chance, she immediately switches from then on out to the rest of the episode to the mom's side. We're going to do everything we can, no matter what, to save this baby. And so I remember when I first watched this, I guess I was in college. I don't remember exactly when. And I remember thinking, oh, now this baby's life is important. Now we deem that it's worth trying to save and going through all these steps. So therefore, we're going to do that. So anyway, so they keep on coming up to one obstacle after another. And then Dr. House, eventually, he says that he wants to abort the baby. He pressures her multiple times to do this. No qualms whatsoever, even though, and he doesn't call it a baby. He keeps saying fetus, 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 which, alert to everybody. Fetus is not a bad word. It's fine because it's a realistic, it's a stage of development.
You're a human fetus, you're a fetal human, whichever one you like.
It's totally fine. Obviously, yes, it's been used by a lot of the medical community for many years to try to dehumanize the child, but now fetus is becoming a little too human. Side note, by the way, we can't say fetus anymore.
Post-row, fetus is bad.
Yep, fetus is bad, but he continually corrects people in this episode and says fetus. And to all the doctors that say it, to the woman,
but one of the doctors says,
baby.
Semantics give you comfort. It's a little too personal to call it a baby.
Yes. And I couldn't believe that was in a secular, that line was in any sort of mainstream, like, oh yeah, it just makes it too impersonal. You can't do it.
The reason that's really good is because in House, no other doctor can ever call out House.
Yeah.
Because he's a genius. And in this exchange, he loses.
Yes.
Like they set it up so the other doctor kind of humiliates him.
Yes, exactly. And it's not a doctor that I expected. If you're going to look at the team of doctors and which one he goes back and forth with more, this one is one of what he considers the lower. She's younger.
It's a good episode to watch.
Yeah.
Like people could, what are they, 30 minutes? Are they an hour?
This is a probably 40-minute episode because it's an hour long. So 40 minutes without commercials.
Okay. This last one, I am shocked it's on here. I did not put it on here. I'm shocked at who did put it on here. His name is Steve Carlin. And I fully agree that it should be on here.
Oh, good.
And I mean,
one of them you said you disagreed. Is that there's the Avengers is the one you disagreed with?
Yeah, which I know I've covered, and I'm sure the mail is piling up of how evil I am. You're rooting against superheroes. They don't exist. Okay. M. Night Shyamalan, who in East Texas we would say is a strange bird, has made some really good movies. Old.
We never leave each other. Nothing separates us. Are we there yet? You said 5 minutes. Technically, it's been more than 5 minutes.
Let's just all start slowing down. Wow. You believe I found this online?
I guess it's not that secret a beast.
And you put Old on here. Old is recent. Is that 2022? February?
It might be. It might be.
Know if
I just put it on the list because I wanted to say M. Night Shyamalan. I thought that would be fun to say.
Absolutely. And he always puts himself in the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a movie where we may have been like out at the West Coast Walk for Life or something like that and called it a night early. I was like, hey, I don't have time to watch movies that aren't Ghostbusters 2. I'll check out something that actually looks good. So I turned it on, and we were saying before we recorded, it took me a while to decide whether I liked it or not. I didn't really like the performance of like the married couple who's the lead actors. They just mumbled a lot. It was hard to understand what they were saying. I didn't find them super compelling.
I agree.
So I didn't like that, but it's a really interesting play. I guess it gets back to sort of some of the discussions we've had about, because you can do it, should you do it? And at what price do we pursue the common good at the expense of the dignity of the individual? At what expense do we pursue the good of humanity for the good of actual human beings? And it's got all the twists and turns you'd expect from an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
So, and he always has morality, whether it's good or bad, in his movies. The Village, Signs. I really like Signs. Some people hate Signs. Of course, Sixth Sense is probably one of the greatest scary movies of all time, and that's his first one. Talk about hitting a home run off the bat. I liked Old, and I saw it coming out. I think he was in a slump. He had like Lady in the Water. He had just some bad movies. The environmental one where like the earth is attacking us. Anyways. Old is good. And I'm like you, like I went in really wanting to like it and I was like, I don't know if I like it. And then I talked about it for a week and I thought about it and I was like, I saw it a second time too, not the theater, but we rented it and I was like, this is really good. We obviously can't go into details because you'll ruin the movie, but people are on vacation and they're getting old and they don't know why. But there is a beautiful couple in it. And they're getting old together and basically, they're 35 when they're on the trip. But we think about like getting old, in marriage with someone and they have to do that in basically a day. And I think that that's beautiful how that played out.
Because they're aging like 2 years an hour or something like that.
It's 7 years an hour.
7 years an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is it 2? I don't remember the ratio. I had 7 in my 7 years an hour.
Wow.
So
I've heard about this movie. I haven't seen it.
It's very well done.
And it's kind of a scary movie, right?
Yeah, it's got some jumpy parts and it's
Yeah.
creepy and you don't know what's going on. And the ending is surprising, which is hard to pull off because everybody like wonders what's going on.
I would say a satisfying ending.
Okay.
Is that too much of a spoiler alert? It's a new movie. I don't want to spoil it. But
No, that's a perfect word. Good word. Yeah, satisfying. You're not like, oh, give me a break.
Okay.
The whole time it was an alien or something. It's not like that. So it's a good, but it's definitely, I hate to say this, I'm surprised he got away with releasing it like in a post-COVID world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got some medical ethics to it, but anyways, timely movie, and I thought it was really, really good. Definitely worth seeing, and it's definitely pro-life. There is a pregnancy that is involved, and that's interesting because
wow,
the gestation lasts about a minute. So that's kind of fun. He gets creative with if this is happening to you, and there's some kind of geek on the island, and he calculates, like he gets the ratio of how quickly they're aging once they figure out they're aging, and but it's well done, and we can end with that because we can't say a whole lot about it. But Old is, you're not going to be like, we're watching that every weekend, but you'll be glad that you watched it.
Once is enough.
Once, maybe twice. Anti-euthanasia for sure. Okay, let's review our movies. The Sixth Day, Juno, The Island, Father Stew, Arrival. Of course, all the Avengers. Those are just tearjerkers. A Quiet Place. I'll do 1 and 2 on that. House. We gave ourselves one TV episode. House Season 3, Episode 17. Season 3, Episode 17. And Old. M. Night Shyamalan. So a good list. And Steve, you contributed a lot. More than I
was a
did.
productive member of society.
Very good. Please criticize me for bashing the Avengers. I'm sure I'll get anti-American. I'm sure we'll get a lot of stuff. I'm also sure that I got some allies out there, and you need to come out.
I'm with you for once, yeah.
You are. Come out. You're not weird if you're not in line on Friday night when an Avenger movie comes out.
Vengeance is not a Christian virtue. They're avenging.
Yeah. Very good. I think Mel Gibson in Braveheart was avenging the Brits, but they deserved it. They deserved it in The Patriot too, as we get closer to the 4th of July. So thank you for watching and listening. Please give your comments. Hey, for better or for worse, we do these music or movie podcasts. We get more comments, more feedback. So if you can leave it in the comment section, great. Or you can email us. We'll most likely read that email if it's good and thought out or critical. We'll definitely read it. Email at podcast@40daysforlife.com, podcast@40daysforlife.com. And be sure, if you haven't gotten your copy yet, go get Scalpel and the Soul by our very own Dr. Haywood Robinson. Get your signed copy directly from 40 Days for Life. So thank you, Heather. Thank you, Steve. God bless you, and we will see you next time.